Hey everybody, if you haven't seen it the last couple of weeks, this show and myself were moving over to the know around the end of the year. Still kind of figuring out the timetable for that, but just wanted to give you guys a heads up that if you want to continue watching Top 10 like you have for more than 10 years, go to youtube.com/know or theknow.tv. I see a lot even in the comments saying, I'm gonna miss Top 10. You don't have to. Just go to the know and I'll see you there. Comic book characters are some of the most overpowered in all of fiction. We would know. But which ones are the most powerful? For this list, we're gonna try to avoid characters who are omniscient or omnipresent because, trust me, it's a lot more interesting this way. So hey, I'm Nervous Nick for Screw Attack's Top 10 OP comic book characters.
Number 10.
We all know that Superman is kind of the go-to example of an overpowered character. But which version of Superman? Well, there's Cosmic Armor Superman, who's probably too omniscient and omnipotent for this list, so he doesn't count. But then you've also got Superman Prime 1 Million, who's got tens of thousands of years worth of knowledge and experience. And then there's good old pre-Crisis Superman. Which one is definitively the most powerful? Well, the world may never truly know, but for this top 10, I'm just gonna go off of the one we've seen the most evidence for, pre-Crisis Superman. I mean, come on, the guy could push the sun, he could fly 10 times faster than light, or even travel through time on a whim. He shook off getting blasted by a supernova, survived the Big Bang, and blew away an entire solar system with a sneeze. Old school Superman may be the definition of OP for most, but if he barely makes it into this top 10, you know we're in for a ride.
Number 9.
While we're talking about Superman, even back in the 1940s, DC was trying to figure out how to give the Man of Steel a real challenge. That's when Jerry Siegel was like, I've got it! An interdimensional Elmer Fudd-looking dwarf who exists to troll Superman. And then Joe Shuster was like, yeah, fine, whatever, man, what do we call him? And then Jerry just face-rolled his typewriter and got Mr. Mixizipitable. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, Mr. Mixoplick is a 5-dimensional imp who's basically cartoon physics the character. He can throw galaxies like toys, hold the multiverse in his hands, and his 5-dimensionalness means he perceives 3D characters as spatially flat. Basically, he really is on a whole nother level compared to just about everyone else. But he's also insanely gullible. Every time he decides to pester the DC universe, he sets up some little game that, if he loses, will banish him for a couple of months or so. And I can't even count how many times he's lost. Still, who would have thought that one of DC's most powerful could be voiced by Gilbert Gottfried?
Like Mummy said, I'm a superior being from the 5th dimension.
Number 8.
You know that classic Daffy Duck cartoon where Bugs Bunny is the animator all along? Well, Grant Morrison totally screwed with Animal Man in more or less the exact same kind of way. It takes a special kind of power to have so much control over reality that anything you write becomes fact. Grant Morrison could completely change a character's personality, summon superheroes in one panel, and then obliterate them in the next. Well, heck, if he wanted to, he could probably detonate the entire DC continuity. The writer would have been higher, but since writing himself into the DC universe and becoming a comic character himself, he kind of realized that somebody else was pulling the strings and not just him anymore. And since he's always concerned about making the story interesting, when he got writer's block, he couldn't figure out a way to not get mauled by a monster. So that makes him one of the most powerful comic book characters who's dead. Huh.
Number 7.
Alright, before we get any further, I just need to point out that we are already getting beyond absurd with these characters. That being said, I'll bet you thought this list was gonna be nothing but Marvel and DC back and forth. Nope! If there's any comic character outside of the big two who can tango with everyone else on this list, it is Image Comics' Spawn. You might know his basic story of being a CIA operative who was killed and then turned into a minion of Malbogia who then killed John Leguizamo, but in the comics, he eventually defeated both God and Satan. So, what does that even, mean? Well, Godspawn, as he's now known, remade the entire universe and now rules it with only the mother of existence above him. But Spawn didn't hold on to this power forever, so we didn't get to see him do a whole lot with his literally godlike powers. And it's worth mentioning that God and Satan were just the second most powerful beings in the Spawn universe. But it bears repeating that he beat God and Satan. Reminder, somehow we're only on number 7.
Number 6.
If you hear people talk about DC Comics for long enough, you eventually hear the words pre-crisis or post-crisis. I mean, this video literally started with pre-crisis Superman, so I know you've heard it at least once. So basically, Crisis on Infinite Earths was DC's way of using story to reset absolutely everything in their comic universe. Lots of characters played big roles in an event as cataclysmic as this, but the Spectre was the one who directly caused the crisis.
I am vengeance. I am the Spectre.
When Spectre was at his full power, he was just south of being both omnipotent and omniscient. His footsteps caused earthquakes in hell. He could throw moons and planets like baseballs. He was faster than pre-crisis Superman, and this one's actually kind of hilarious. His punches could travel around the entire length of the universe. Even Dr. Fate, who's already insanely powerful in his own right, knew that he wasn't a match for this guy. Then again, when you're pretty much one step below God himself, I can't blame you.
Number 5.
When a scientist has a mishap with some crazy experiment in a comic book, you can bet he's gonna get superpowers of some kind. But I don't think Owen Reese was quite prepared for just how good his ability would be. The only real power Molecule Man has is the only real power he needs: manipulating molecules at will. Like, no crap, right? That's kind of what his name is. But notice I didn't say he could manipulate his molecules. He can just manipulate all the molecules. The very building blocks of everything that exists. He's destroyed Cap's shield, Thor's hammer, Tony's armor, and the Silver Surfboard all at once. He's twice blown up the Sentry, who's Marvel's version of Superman, repaired multiple universes at once, and he did it all without breaking a sweat. Molecule Man's potential is so great that even he's kind of scared of himself. That's why he intentionally limits his powers most of the time. Besides, without that power, he's just some dude. All those awesome abilities, and you could probably just lay him out in one good punch. But even at that, with all the stuff that he can do, Molecule Man demands respect from everyone.
Number 4.
Man, Dr. Doom's got one of the coolest villain stories ever. To sum it up, he actually believes that the only way mankind can survive is if he rules over them all. So with that kind of determination, it's no wonder that Doom became an actual god. With Molecule Man on his side to constantly siphon him powers, God Doom was able to reduce Thanos, freaking Thanos, to a skeleton, and easily at that. But Thanos didn't have the Infinity Gauntlet, you say? Yeah, but Black Panther did when they fought, and God Doom still didn't care. He even took on Cyclops, powered up by the Phoenix Force, and killed him easily. And if you don't know what the Phoenix Force is, it can basically do anything it wants, except apparently kill Doom. That just has to mean that God Doom is completely unstoppable. Well, except that he fell for yet another trap laid by the heroes. Can't win them all.
Number 3.
Okay, so going back to DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths, there's yet another multi-universal being who had a hand in that entire thing. With the power to emit waves that dematerialize anything, the AntiMonitor has destroyed and absorbed over 1,000 universes, and each one only made him stronger. Even the Spectre, powered up by sorcerers and a fifth-dimensional imp kind of like Mixelplick, mind you, couldn't beat him. But if there's an AntiMonitor, you can bet that there's a regular monitor as well. But we're gonna go with AntiMonitor as being possibly even stronger than his bro. Check this out. When the two were locked into a million-year-long stalemate, Monitor was powered by the entire multiverse, while AntiMonitor only had the antimatter universe. One universe against several. It's kind of like an algebra equation, only with a lot more universes getting destroyed. That's my kind of math right there. Why didn't they teach that in school?
Number 2.
You know, there's been a lot of talk of gods on this list, but what about a devil? Lucifer Morningstar is just about as powerful as a character can get without breaking our rules for this top 10. Under God's orders, Lucifer created the original Big Bang alongside Michael the Archangel. So, you know, everything that exists, Lucifer made that. But he didn't stop there. Like most of the people this far into the list, Lucifer can warp reality itself. That means resurrecting the dead, changing the sizes of objects, erasing people out of existence, or even bringing things into existence. But that's not to say that he's 100% unstoppable. He's been depowered to average Joe status before, but even then, he can still tear a demon's face apart one-handed, walk through the desert for 9 days without food or water, or clothes for that matter, and still look like David Bowie for some reason while he's doing it. And what is up with that? Why's he gotta be so handsome?
It's number 1.
When you're dealing with characters as powerful as these, you either need to bust them out on very rare occasions, or else consider some hefty retcons to keep them in check. Number 1 on this list is a character who, at the peak of his power, was the most OP thing imaginable in the realm of comics. But even after getting nerfed like crazy, the Beyonder is still worthy of this spot. So let's start off with his least impressive abilities. He battled Molecule Man across multiple universes, claimed to have more power in a single electron than an entire galaxy, and get this, Peter Parker had his powers for 1/1000th of a second and was still able to remake all of creation. All of that is after he got retconned. And when Beyonder was at the top of his game, he was even stronger than Living Tribunal and Eternity, beings who can manipulate time, space, and even reality itself. And take this last one how you will, but he's also said to be millions of times more powerful than all the rest of the power in the multiverse combined. Pre-retcon Beyonder was absolutely insane. So much so that I would not be surprised if we never see a character get this OP ever again. For our secret number 11, let's break the rules and look at the absolute most powerful character in comics of all time, no restrictions. At least, I think so. Even though there's no way to truly know, it just might be the one above all. He/she is God, as in the God, like God to gods, who are gods to other gods, who are gods to other gods, who are gods to smaller gods, who are gods to tiny gods, who are gods to microscopic gods, and those don't exist, so they're gods to no one.